A pastor was robbed today of nearly $500,000 in jewelry as he gave his Sunday sermon. There were black women in there. There were black children in there. There were black elders in there. First of all, I am happy that the pastor and his family are safe. I am happy that the congregation at that Brooklyn church is safe. I am happy that it appeared by the video that I was sent that nobody was harmed during the course of the Brooklyn robbery inside that Brooklyn church today. And I'm happy that those brothers who robbed the pastor did not injure anyone, did not harm anyone. Thank you, brothers, for that. There were children there. There were women there. You still had no right to pull out guns in the presence of our women and children, but I am still thankful you didn't hurt anybody. But here's what I want to say. In 2015, Dylan Roof walked into Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina and murdered 9 Africans, including 6 mothers. Dylan Roof walked into a church in Charleston, South Carolina, Mother Emanuel, and murdered 9 Africans, including 6 mothers. I'm trying to understand why we still have black churches who don't have security. I'm trying to understand why we have black churches that still don't have armed guards. I'm trying to understand why we still have black churches who are living in some sort of imaginary fairy tale where they don't think that the safety of their congregation is in danger because they claim to be doing God's work. The black church, every black church, mega church, small church, medium church, you need a security force. You need a security team. You need regular armed guards. That robbery in Brooklyn was too easy. That robbery in Brooklyn was too easy. The murder of Dylan Roof's murder of our elders in Charleston, South Carolina was too easy. Why do we still have churches without security? Why do we still have black churches were bombed and burned to the ground for nearly 400 years? Black churches were bombed and burned to the ground for nearly 400 years. You got white folk running into black churches, killing black folks. Black pastors were some of the original Africans to be hanged first because they were some of the most literate. So the black clergy was always a target of white supremacy. The black clergy was always a target of white supremacy. I'm trying to understand, in 21st century America, how can you be a black church in 21st century America and you don't have no security? Can somebody help me understand, and understand how a black church in 21st century America doesn't have security? I have security everywhere I go. And I know my people love me, but there's always a few who don't. So if I have security as one man wherever I go, if I have security as one man wherever I go, if you have a whole church where you collecting money and you showing off materialism, why in the hell do you think you are safe from danger? And I got news for the black church. And I don't wish no harm on no church, no pastor, no congregation, but I got news for the church. The black church is the new bank in the black community. I said the black church is the new bank in the black community. What I mean by that, these young brothers who have grown up poor, unemployed, public assistance, father in jail, mother on drugs, or mother doing her best, but she can't make all the ends meet. These young men out here struggling in the ghettos of black America who have sat by and watched black pastors get rich off the poverty pennies of their grandmothers. These young black men are sick and tired of watching black pastors and black bishops and black preachers get rich off the poverty pennies of their mothers and grandmothers. And now these young black men are beginning to turn on the one institution that was always sacred ground for black America. I said these young brothers are going to start robbing churches now. They are going to start robbing churches. This I fear, and I don't want this. I don't want this, but I have to tell the truth. I don't believe this is the last time we're going to see a church robbed by young black brothers. I don't think this is going to be the last time we see a church get robbed by young black brothers. The black church is the new bank. I said the black church is the new bank. And if you are a black church and you collecting money and you showing off your watches and showing off your Mercedes and showing off your Benz and showing off your $1,000 suit, and you black women coming in there with your $500 hairstyles and your $1,000 high heels, I don't want no harm to come to nobody in my family. I love all my people. Christian, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, I love my people. But what I'm telling you is these young brothers are sick and tired of watching the black church rob black people blind. I'm not saying this pastor was guilty of that. I'm not saying this pastor is guilty of that. I don't know that church. I don't know that pastor. For all I know, that could have been a very down-to-earth church that did not take in a lot of revenue. I cannot pass judgment on that pastor. And I'm glad he is safe and his wife is safe and his congregation is safe. And I'm glad those young brothers exercised enough discipline not to harm nobody. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the black church. You cannot talk about you are doing God's work. How in the hell are you doing God's work when you have a church in the ghetto? You are expecting poor mothers and grandmothers in the ghetto to donate to your church. And then you take this money that comes to you from poor black women in the ghetto, and you don't use none of that money to rebuild the ghetto. You don't use none of that money to empower the ghetto. You don't use none of that money to employ our children. You don't use none of your Jesus money. You are not using Jesus's money to serve Jesus's children. You are buying homes in white neighborhoods. You buying airplanes. You going on fancy vacations. You Negroes are driving Mercedes Benzes, Cadillac trucks, BMWs. You are wearing $5,000 suits, $2,500 suits, $1,000 suits. You wearing $100,000 watches. I'm not saying anybody should be robbed. I am not saying anybody should be robbed. I'm saying if you are bold enough, to walk into a black ghetto, claim you are about the community. If you are bold enough to walk into a black ghetto and claim you are about the community, drive an expensive luxury car, wear luxury clothes, luxury watch, luxury shoes, and you claim to be doing the Lord's work, and we don't see the community benefiting at all. We don't see the community benefiting at all. We don't see the black community benefiting at all from the money that the black church takes from the ghetto. I hate to say it. We are in an economic crisis. We are in an economic crisis. And these young black brothers in our cities are sick and tired of watching the pastor live high up on the hog while he struggles. Black churches, please get you some security. Black churches, please get you some security. Black churches, please get you some security. And I want to say this. I'm talking to my beautiful black women. I'm talking to my church-going sisters, my church-going mothers, my church-going queen mothers. Listen to me, ladies. Listen to your brother, Dr. Umar. If you go to a church that does not have security, if you go and worship at a church where there is no security, if you go and worship at a church that doesn't have any armed guards, you go to a church that doesn't have a security force, don't go back to church no more. Find you another church. You cannot afford to be traumatized, beaten, or robbed at gunpoint because your pastor isn't security conscious. Black woman, listen to me. There were children in that church in Brooklyn today. There were children in that church in Brooklyn today. Those children might be forever traumatized by what they saw. Post-traumatic stress disorder is real. Post-traumatic stress disorder is real. And I don't want to see no black woman traumatized. I don't want to see no black elders traumatized. I don't want to see no black children traumatized. Stop going to church that do not take your security seriously. Don't go to churches that don't take your security seriously. We are living in an economically desperate time. We have a whole generation of young black men and women. We have a whole generation of young black men and women who don't have a problem killing or stealing. Let me say it again. We got a whole generation of black children who don't have a problem killing or stealing in order to eat to live. And as you saw in Brooklyn today, they are willing to come into your church on Sunday and rob you. They are willing to come into your church on Sunday and rob you. They are willing to come into your church on Sunday and rob you. And I want to say this to the black church. I don't want no harm to come to no church or no church goers, no church leaders. I want you to get security. Stop being so damn cheap. How you got $100,000 car and you ain't got no security in your church? How you living in a $500,000 home in a white suburb and you ain't got no security for your church? How you got $100,000 Rolex watch? You got on a $100,000 Rolex watch and you ain't got no security? I don't understand this. You got on a $5,000 suit and you ain't got no security. Let me say this. My security at my events is not there mostly for me. My security at my events is there for the people. Security ain't about you, pastor. Security ain't about you, bishop. Security ain't about you, deacon. Security ain't about you, deaconess. Security is to protect the people who come out to support you. When I go to Toledo, there will be security to protect the people who come to see me. When I go to Cleveland, there will be security there to protect the people who came to see me. Security is to protect the people who come to see you. How you got all this money and all this expensive jewelry and you ain't got no damn security? I thought we learned from Dylan Roof, Charleston, South Carolina, 2015. I thought we learned from Dylan Roof, Charleston, South Carolina, 2015. I thought we learned from Dylan Roof, South Carolina, 2015.